Well, welcome to the Truth and Precept channel. Today we're going to be looking at discussing the myriad of articles that have been posted regarding the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the hidden investments that they are now being fined by the SEC. And if this is news to you, should be a wake-up call to start paying attention to the things happening around you. Now, there's going to be some who are not going to think this is a big deal, right? They trust the leadership of the church. They believe if the church made a mistake, as we'll quote unquote call it, or they will, right, that the Lord's still going to bless them. And so what I am going to show you is how the scriptures think this is a big deal, and it was even prophesied. This isn't going to be the first or last thing that's going to be announced upon the housetops, right? As the prophesied walls and towers the church has built are being deconstructed, right? So will you believe in the many witnesses of the scriptures, or will you continue to trust in the arm of flesh? And one thing that's important to understand, right, is end time prophecy. Because if we understand what has been prophesied, things are going to start making sense. Why things are the way they are. Why things are happening, especially regarding our church. So in Doctrine and Covenants 38, verse 39, the church and its members are given a prophecy and a real consequential warning. And this is word for word. I've just broken it up so it's easy to digest. It says, "And if ye seek the riches, which it is the will of the Father to give unto you, 1, ye shall be the richest of all people. 2, for ye shall have the riches of eternity. 3, and it must needs be that the riches of the earth are mine to give. 4, but beware of pride. 5, lest ye become as the Nephites of old." Which is not a warm welcome. That what happened to the Nephites, right? The LDS are given the same warning. Now we look here. Now a lot of the images you'll see I have taken from the Widow's Mite report, the URL down below, and you can go grab many of the reports that have been done. And you'll see here that the church owns Ensign Peak, that is its investment firm, and by the end of 2021, in billions, you can see the net cash and investments really rival, well, not even rival, right? They surpass all the major schools and largest companies. So this is where the church is at. So getting into the scriptures here, I'm going to piece these scriptures because that's how that's how prophecy is done. It's not just all in one verse, right, or even one chapter. It is spread throughout like puzzle pieces that you have to put back together and to be able to see the whole picture, right? And I won't read all the sources here. You can see them on the screen, but I'll just read through them, right? They, meaning the members of the church, will say, "All is well in Zion, yea, Zion prospereth, all is well." I've seen this statement almost word for word on social media by people who think everything is good with the church because we are prospering. "Yea, woe shall come unto you because of that pride." Right? Now, why were the Nephites destroyed? Well, because of the pride cycle, right? Their pride, "which ye have suffered to enter your hearts, which has lifted you up beyond that which is good, because of your exceedingly great riches. Our riches exceedingly great. Yep. It was among those who also it was among those also who professed to belong to the church of God, and it was because of the pride of their hearts, because of their exceeding riches, yea, it was because of the opposition, because of the oppression to the poor. Yea, and they have all gone out of the way. They have become corrupted because of pride. Right, there's that pride again. And because of false teachers and false doctrine, their churches have become corrupted, and their churches are lifted up. Because of pride, they are puffed up. They rob the poor because of their fine sanctuaries. They rob the poor because of their fine clothing. And they persecute the meek and the poor in heart, because in their pride they are puffed up. This is, these are scriptures that really were written, long ago, but they are written for us and are about us. And how many times does it mention our pride? Right? Do we not think, we are God's people. We are the chosen, the elect. We have the only true church. We are the only ones who have a living true prophet. Right? And everybody who's going to come to God has to join our church, whether in this life or the next. But I, knowing that these things must surely be made known, and that all things which are hid must be revealed upon the housetops. For their iniquities shall be spoken upon the housetops, and their secret acts shall be revealed. So just as I said, this isn't the first or the last of the iniquities that will be announced upon the housetops. And there are much worse things that are yet to come. And that's above, not just this, but, above the sex abuse handling that made the airwaves a few months back. There are much worse things that will be revealed. And the day shall come that they shall hide up their treasures, because they have set their hearts upon riches. And because they have set their hearts upon riches, they will hide up their riches when they shall flee before their enemies, because they will not hide them up unto me. Cursed be they, and also their treasures, and in that day shall they be smitten, saith the Lord. So, right, it's no secret that the church was hiding this. They created, I think it was 13 shell companies for the purpose of hiding their investment from Wall Street and from their members. They did not want anyone to know how much money they had. And here's infographic here, shows of all these charities, and then the Latter-day Saint charities, right? They do not disclose publicly any information regarding these categories that all the others do. Behold, I speak unto you as if you were present, and ye are not, but behold, Jesus Christ has shown you unto me, right? Jesus Christ has shown you, Latter-day Saints, unto me, Moroni, and I know your doing. For behold, you do love money, and your substance, and your fine apparel, and the adorning of your churches, more than ye love the poor and the needy, the sick and the afflicted. O ye pollutions, ye hypocrites, ye teachers, who sell yourselves for that which will canker, why have you polluted the holy church of God? Right? No doubt, right, that this is talking about us. We have polluted the holy church of God. And how many times, do the scriptures need to tell us that we are robbing the poor, right? Now I want to cover this parable that is given in Doctrine and Covenants 101. It's the parable of the nobleman and the olive trees. It is also called the parable of the redemption of Zion. This is a prophetic parallel or parable. And I'm just going to summarize the verses here. You can go back and read those on your own. And so it starts out here that the nobleman, who is Christ, tells servants to plant 12 olive trees in his vineyard in a choice land. And I do want to call out that this parable I do cover in my Isaiah chapter 5 presentation. So if you want a lot more details with a lot more cross references and parallels, that is done in that video. He instructs the servants to set watchmen to guard the vineyard for when, that's a critical key, when the enemy comes. Also, right, they, the servants, must build a tower for greater protection. The servants went and planted the olive trees and built a hedge / wall. You'll kind of use those words interchangeably. And they built that around about the vineyard. Then what happens, right, while the servants were building the tower's foundation, the servants decide not to build the rest of the tower. We don't teach this in Sunday school. They didn't finish building it. What we got in the days of Joseph Smith was only the foundation. Instead, they invest the money with Babylon's exchangers. And then we're told the servants then fall asleep. As a result, the enemies break into the vineyard and take it over in secret, meaning most people aren't going to realize this has happened. The nobleman laments, this is Christ, that the servants didn't save the vineyard from the destroyer. And these servants, right, are now, long past. They're with the Lord. And the enemy has built up a new hedge or wall and has built many of their own towers, we are told. So the interesting thing, right, is that the people, right, of the vineyard, they have not realized that the vineyard has been taken over by the enemy. And this is exactly what this parable is telling us. And we're starting to see the fruits of those individuals, those leaders. And so the Lord instructs an end-time servant to gather the remaining of the strength of the Lord's people. He tells them to commence breaking down the vineyard's walls and towers and scatter the enemy's watchmen. So this is what we are seeing right now. We are seeing the deconstructing of the enemy of their walls. Right? There will be towers involved and the watchmen later on as those things come out and are announced upon the housetops. But this is what we are seeing. This is going to continue, right? The servants obey, and then after several years, the redemption or restoration of Zion happens. So this is going to take several years for this to come out. And so this should be a wake-up call, right? That all is not well in Zion, right? The gospel of Jesus Christ is still true, but the enemy has corrupted the church, the LDS church, right? And we are seeing the fruits of that corruption. Well, let's keep going. So who was Baal? Right. So this is a quote from Rabbi Jonathan Cahn in his book, I think it's called The Return of the Gods. He said, Baal was the god of prosperity. As the lord of rains and fertility, he represented increase, gain, and profit. The belief that he could bring fruitfulness to one's fields and vineyards was among the strongest of his appeals and weapons in his battle against the God of Israel. So, do we have a prophecy about this in the latter days? We do. So, to understand that, we need to understand what is Samaria. Samaria was the ancient capital of the tribe of Ephraim. Right? For us in the church today, right, where 90% are from Ephraim, in the United States, this would be like Salt Lake City in the last days. Now, ancient scripture does not use modern names. Right? They use historical names, and you got to figure out the metaphor for the end time. So why does this matter, right? Well, in Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 20, right, it starts with, "In the latter days ye shall consider it perfectly." Right, so we are going to understand perfectly what Jeremiah is going to tell us about how it relates to the last days. Verse 13, "And I have seen folly in the prophets of Samaria. They prophesied in Baal and caused my people Israel to err." Right? The prophets of the tribe of Ephraim in the last days would prophesy in Baal, or in other words, in profits and gain. They teach the prosperity gospel, causing us to err. Right? And so church leaders have said that this huge amount of money that they are saving is for the second coming of Christ. Well, first of all, do you think God needs money to redeem Zion? Second of all, money is on the verge of failing. It's not going to be worth anything by the time that's happening. And third, this is like saying, I'm a rich man and I can't give $1 to someone on the streets because I'm saving that money so that I can help them way down the road. I need to get rich first, right? Continue to get more rich. Well, we get an excellent example here of what has been happening in Malachi. So this whole book really is talking to the priests, but the leadership in our church has twisted this to point it the other way back at the membership. So verse 10, right, says, "Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my store, in my house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour out you a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it." It's from chapter 3. But if we go back to chapter 1, we see that Malachi is speaking, right, to the leadership of the priesthood, and they are tasked with using the tithes of the membership, and Malachi is upset with them because they are holding back all of the best offerings and only using the least of the tithes for the offerings. Right? And so in verses 6 through 8, "Saith the Lord of hosts unto you, O priests that despise my name, and ye say, Wherein have we despised thy name? Ye offer polluted bread upon my altar, and ye say, Wherein have we polluted thee? And that ye say, The table of the Lord is contemptible. And if ye offer the blind for sacrifice, is it not evil? And if ye offer the lame and sick, is it not evil?" Is the church leadership today offering the best of their resources to the Lord and the members, or is the church leadership only providing the bare minimum and keeping most resources elsewhere? Right? I couldn't quite find the infographic for this, showing that the church uses less than 1% of tithing to go to charity. Chapter 3, verse 7, "Even from the days of your fathers ye are gone away from mine ordinances, and have not kept them. Return to me, and I will return to you, saith the Lord of hosts. But ye say, Wherein shall we return?" And then we see in verse 8, we see that the Lord is talking to the priesthood leadership. Right? "Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, who is this ye? This is talking about the priests, because in the same formula pattern, he has been questioning and answering back and forth between him and the priests through the previous chapters. Wherein have we robbed thee? God responds in tithes and offerings. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. Right? It's the leaders who are robbing the whole nation, the nation of Israel. The membership of the church, right, is part of that. The priests have robbed the church, right? And then verse 10, right, talking about bringing the tithes into the storehouse, right? The Lord is asking the priests to bring the tithes and offerings back to the storehouse. The storehouse is the bishop's storehouse, the wards and stakes and the membership of the church. Bring the tithes the members have paid back to the offering table, that there may be sustenance in the wards and stakes. The membership of this church is starving. The church is losing its best and brightest as the young families are leaving, right? Malachi was telling the priests to bring the tithes back to the members and makes the promise that if the priests do, God will open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing such that there would not be room enough to receive it. In Malachi, the Lord isn't calling on the people of Israel to pay tithing. The offerings are already paid. The Lord is calling on the priests to bring those tithes back to the storehouse. So we'll see here in a list of charitable services here, right? Red Cross, Habitat for Humanity, United Way, Lutheran. Right? Here's the LDS charities here, and this is plus church welfare. This is what they are currently paying as of 2021 compared to everybody else. Right? Now, taking what the church could be providing down here, this is the projection, right? The church could be among the best at providing, right, for those in need. So do we start to understand why the scriptures, those ancient prophets, are telling us that we are robbing the poor? And that's the end of this topic, right? There's probably a ton more scriptures, but it's just the same stuff over and over again. Right? The message is clear that we are, misusing, the leadership is misusing the money. And this needs to be a big deal, right? Do not let this, slide. Do not put this on your shelf. The scriptures thought this was important enough to call it out many times, right? And as we get, as time goes by, we will see more and more that the enemy, the adversary, has infiltrated the Lord's vineyard, and its people do not know, and they are being led to perform dead works with many distractions and busy work to keep them from truly knowing Christ and knowing his true path of ascension. And I'll leave this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.